Oh. Narayana. Hari Om, and welcome from Niagara Falls. In Canada, our equivalent to NPR is CBC Radio. And recently, as I was driving, I had heard a report that said, in the United Kingdom, the average adult looks at their phone how many hours a week? Take a guess. How many hours a week does a typical adult look at their phone? 50, 60. They measured 24 hours a week. An adult is looking at their phone. And what this study was inferring is that Canadians look at their phone even more and Americans even more. Americans always have to exceed the Canadians in what they do. But if you think about it, that's an entire day looking at this combination of metal and plastic, this small screen. Is that what the purpose of a day is? To look at one's phone all the time? In Sanskrit, in Hindi, what is Sunday called? Ravivara. The word vara means day, and Ravi means sun. Another name is Aditya Vara. And how beautifully, today is a day that we study the main personality in the solar dynasty, that is Bhagwan Rama, no? Sunday is a day that we focus on the sun, which symbolically stands for knowledge. All those who chant Gayatri Mantra, we're asking for that brilliance of the sun to be as brilliant in my intellect. This is what the purpose of a day is to feel closer to our Creator, to feel closer to knowledge. This is also why we call this course Vedanta in Ramayana. Ramayana is, of course, about Bhagwan Rama, and the Vedanta is the knowledge aspect of it. And without such a purpose, we get pushed around by our day. Malcolm X has powerfully shared, if you don't stand up for something, you fall for everything. It was 2 years ago. It was September 11th, 2016, when we began Vedanta and Ramayana. I distinctly remember we were on our Canada Yatra, and we were near a casino. We were trying to use their Wi-Fi because we were in Kananaskis. And literally, one of our course coordinators held a phone while I spoke in the front seat of an RV while this class was going on. Our Canada Yatra actually begins again tomorrow morning. So I'll be flying out to Calgary tonight for that. Our last class was in the middle of May, and at that time, we had completed Sundarakanda, where Bhagwan Rama, Hanumanji, and all of the beings are about to begin their Dharma Setu. That is their bridge towards Lanka, but really, it is following their responsibilities. And it is by building this Dharma Setu that one is able to go over this Samsara Sagara. Samsara, we know, means meaninglessness. And Sagara means an ocean. So much of what we do, we don't know the meaning of it. You ask a typical college student, why are you in college? And their response is, I'm supposed to. So now the college people feel bad. You ask all the people who go to work, why do you work? I'm supposed to. Why did you get married? I'm supposed to. This is all called Samsara Sagara. It's an ocean of meaninglessness. But when one follows their responsibilities, they cross over that meaninglessness into meaning. And wherever there's meaning, there is joy. There is Rama. So this is where we completed our study. And there's a lovely quote that I came across today that really encapsulates this. Here's the quote. Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. You all agree? If you think about relationships, when you're committed in a relationship, you can be closer. But if you don't commit to a relationship, you say, I love you, but you actually don't love that person. When it comes to self-development, if we're not committed to waking up early in the morning, right, can we really say that we're into studying, we're into reflecting? Commitment. This bridge of dharma shows commitment. And so now we enter the 6th chapter of Ramayana. How many chapters are there? 18. 7. There are 7 kandas, or chapters in Ramayana. This 6th chapter is called Lanka Kanda, the chapter that takes place in Lanka. And this is also known in other places as Yuddha Kanda, because the majority of what happens in this chapter is Yuddha, is a fight. And please don't interpret this literally only, that this is a fight, so this is a chapter on violence. There's a perpetual fight going on inside of us, isn't it? Between judging someone and accepting someone. That's a fight. Between being patient and being impatient. That's a fight too. Between stepping outside of one's comfort zone and saying yes to service, or saying no and being comfortable, that's a fight too. So Yuddha Kanda. Earlier I'd shared with all of you that each of these chapters is associated with a particular city, a particular nagari. And the saying is that if you really understand one of these cities fully, whether it's Varanasi or Haridwar, if you understand this fully, that you can be liberated in that city. And please note I said understand, not die, right? If I'm really sick and I go to Kanchi and I die, am I going to be liberated? My body may be there, but my mind will still be in Las Vegas. So I'm not going to be liberated. It's where your mind is. This 6th chapter is associated with Ujjain. How many of you have been to Ujjain before? Okay. Ujjain's in the center of Bharat. And the most important presence in Ujjain is Mahakaleshwar. I'll open these words up for you. Ishvara means controller. Kala means time. The controller of time. But it is Mahakaleshwar. So the controller of time really is time, but who controls time? Bhagwan Shiva. So the controller of time is also known as Yama. But who controls Yama? Bhagwan Shiva. So Mahakaleshwar. And why Ujjain is associated with this chapter, Bhagavan Shiva is often known as the destroyer. And people interpret this so literally, Bhagavan is going to come and destroy me. That's not true. Bhagavan is going to come and destroy our wickedness, our laziness, our fear, etc. That's what's destroyed, not us. But sometimes our whole personality does need to be destroyed or changed fully, in which case we do become quite new. There's going to be so many Rakshasas, and their wickedness is going to be destroyed. Then the primary Rakshasa who's going to be changed is going to be Ravana. And what's fascinating about Ravana and Lanka, Ravana is a strong, scholarly devotee of Bhagavan Shiva. And many of us can also be strong and scholarly. I sit here all the time. I've memorized this all the time. But if my intention is not brilliant, is not pure, then I also need to be corrected. That negativity in me also needs to be destroyed. So Lanka Kanda, Ujjain, Bhagavan Shiva. Fine. We'll do some studying. Okay. I am on the third chopai, and this is the third section of chopais. This is the first line of the first chopai of the third section of chopais. And what is shared here, this is Bhagavan Rama who's speaking. Je Rameshwara darasanu karahihi te tanu taji mama loka siddhari hahihi. Which means, anyone who has darshan or vision of Rameshwara. You've all heard of this word before, Rameshwara. That person comes to my loka. That person comes to me. That person becomes happy. Okay, so this is a simple meaning. How did we get to this spot? What was the lead up to this? At the beginning of each chapter of Ramayana, there is some prayers in Sanskrit, and then there's the rest of the chopais, the verses in what language? Avadi. Avadi is like a combination of Sanskrit and Hindi. But the prayers are in Sanskrit. Here, there are two prayers, really 2.5 prayers that Tulsidas begins with. The first prayer is towards Bhagavan Rama. The second prayer is to Lord Shiva. And I'll explain more about that shortly. But once the chopais begin, Bhagavan Rama looks to his ministers. He has 4 ministers. Who are Bhagavan Rama's ministers? Sugriva is one of them. Hanumanji is another. Vibhishana and Jambavan. So 4 ministers. And he's looking at them impatiently saying, why aren't we building our bridge? Naturally, he's impatient. His wife, who's been kidnapped, is suffering. So he's impatient. Let's build this bridge. And so they start. Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of beings, monkeys and bears. They start taking boulders, they start taking trees, and they start throwing it to Nala and Neela. Nala and Neela are the engineers of the group. That anything they touch, though it goes into water, it floats. One of my responsibilities is to bathe my 15-month-old son Vyasa. And when I put him in the tub, we have these foam trees and monkeys and stuff, and I throw them all in there. And then he eats them mostly. He shouldn't eat them. But they're supposed to stick on the side of the tub, and he's supposed to play with them. And though they're in a bin, when I dump them in the water, they all scatter. So the same is happening, that they're throwing all of these boulders and trees in the ocean, but it's all scattering. So what to do? So what Nala and Nila started doing, one of them would write Ra, and another one would write Ma. And automatically all of that would come together as if it was cemented together. Cool, no? That they just wrote Ra, Ma, and it would come together like magnets. And I think this detail is so important because usually when we watch this on TV, you see the word Ram on it, but it's not that. It's actually written in two separate entities that come together. And what Tulsidas Ji shares here, how many of you have been to Uttarkashi before? Okay. In Uttarkashi, there's a section, it's a bridge. When people die, they put them in a blanket, in a sheet, and they put rocks in there. And from that bridge, they actually put them into the Ganga that's flowing. It's called Jal Samadhi. Jal Samadhi. And what Tulsidas Ji says is those same rocks that cause other entities to sink. Right? If you had a boat and there was a rock on it, it's going to sink. Now those same rocks are floating and are causing other people to float too. That's the power of the Creator. That's the power of the divine. So they start proceeding. As this bridge is being built, they start proceeding. Now think, what is the greatest place in the world for the number of beings or species that we know of? Is it the desert? Is it the jungle? Where do most beings live by volume? The ocean. The world, I think, is 80% water. And how deep the Marianas Trench is, how deep the Pacific Ocean is. Now the source of joy is walking on this bridge, and every one of those beings, the fish, the turtles, the whales, all of those beings came to the surface. And they were just looking at the source of joy. They were looking at their own Creator. And this is not an exaggeration because in a large group of people like today, when our son Vyasa looks around, who does he look for? He looks for his Creator, correct? His biological parents. Now all of these beings, they're not egotistical. They're still connected to their Creator. So every one of them is in dhyana. They're all focused on Bhagwan Rama with their eyes, with their mind. This Tuesday we begin our Meditation in Life course. We have around 160 students that have registered already. And every Tuesday, one portion of our class will be a practice of meditation or dhyana. And it's going to be hilarious to see how much people struggle. I'm going to ask them to close their eyes, but I'm going to keep my eyes open to make sure, things are going smoothly with the technology. And people are going to be moving, people are going to be opening their eyes to see if my eyes are closed, and some people will be sneaking in some food and so on. But all of these creatures were instantly in dhyana. And then we come to this line, where as Bhagwan Rama is walking, he's feeling so grateful. And whenever Bhagwan Rama is feeling grateful, who does he think of? Bhagwan Shiva. And he says, let us set up a linga here. Let us set up a linga like we have here, and let us be grateful, remembering Bhagwan Shiva. And there's actually a special yatra associated with Rameshwara. Okay, so here's what you're supposed to do. I should make this your RAL, your reflection adventure of a lifetime. Before we all die, we should do it together. You have to start in Varanasi, and you have to take water from the Ganga there. Then by foot, walk all the way to Rameshwaram. By foot. I'll say it one more time. by foot. You have to pour that water on the Shivlinga. Then you have to collect sand from that beach and then walk back on foot to Varanasi and offer that sand into the Ganga. That's the Ganga Rameshwaram Yatra. Easy. We should start. This is religious tourism that I'm promoting right now. So this is some of the katha. Now I'll explain some of the Vedanta related to all of this. I often ask younger people, what is the greatest gift that you can give your parents? What is the greatest gift you can give your parents? Listen to them. But what if they're wrong? Get along well, respect. The greatest gift you can give your parents is for them to not have to worry about you. Yes? If you think of someone who's pregnant, there's always that worry that the baby will not be healthy. But once you know that baby is going to be healthy, once you hear that baby cry, there's so much relief that comes with that. I told you that there's 2 prayers at the beginning of this chapter. The one that's dedicated towards Bhagwan Rama, one way that Tulsidasji describes him, he says, Bhava Bhaya Harana. The one who takes away fear, the one who gives fearlessness. The greatest gift that we can get, that we can give, is to help people be fearless. And that's why we pray to Bhagwan Rama. He is fearless. He can help us be fearless also. Then the prayer to Bhagwan Shiva. What color is Bhagwan Shiva? I want to ask all the Tennessee group specifically. Typically we say Bhagwan Shiva's blue, but you're wrong. Bhagwan Shiva's as white as a conch, as white as the moon, and it's not shared here, but in another place as white as snow, and a jasmine. He is white like my kurta. And what's really beautiful about this, Bhagwan Shiva is known to be the most handsome being with fair skin. I don't know why I didn't mean to point at myself. I was just pointing at the skin. And Bhagwan Rama's supposed to be the most handsome being with dark skin. And why this is so important, it shows their oneness. Whether one is fair-skinned or dark-skinned, they're both the same. I recently went to see a movie called Black Klansman. And in this, there's so much hatred based on one's skin pigment, when most of us didn't choose our skin pigment. Imagine people took this deeply, that whether you're fair-skinned or dark-skinned, both are handsome, beautiful. So much would change in the world. Wouldn't? Yes? So I wanted to point that out. Then, I'd shared at one point that Bhagwan Rama was impatient with, how come they're not building this bridge? So the reason for it is these 4 ministers, Sugriva, Hanumanji, Vibhishana, Jambavan. They're all thinking, your name alone can free us from bondage. Why should we put in so much effort to build a bridge, right? We should just think about you, take your name, and you can free us. So much understanding by the ministers about the greatness of Bhagwan Rama. And one more dialogue that was not mentioned. Hanumanji says, there's no need to build a bridge because when Mother Sita was kidnapped across the water, the fire that was in your heart already dried up all of the ocean. So there is no water there. But everyone associated with Rama knows when they saw Hanumanji and what he did, they became so sad that they started crying so much that they refilled that body of water with their tears. So such a lovely poetry that is shared. Now we'll get into a very Vedantic part. So all of these beings are building this bridge, correct? And then I told you the millions and billions of sea creatures came to the surface. They're all focused. That bridge actually stopped there. And those beings were so still that Bhagwan Rama and the rest of the beings, that's the monkeys and bears, walked on them. All of those fish, all of those octopus, all of those whales, they continued the rest of that bridge. So this bridge is like a hybrid. And what Swami Tejamananda shared with us relating to this, he said we actually only do 1% of the work, and God does 99%. We do 1, he, she does 99. And the more that we're aware of that, the less selfish we are, the more generous we are. As long as I think I'm in control, then I always feel I'm the doer, I'm the deserver. I'm selfish, I'm stressful. But hear how amazingly we know so little about this bridge when most of this bridge is organic. They walked across this bridge. Because of Bhagwan Rama, he said, you put in your 1%, I'll do the rest. And there were so many monkeys and bears that were traveling, there was a traffic jam. So some of the monkeys, they started flying or jumping a lot. They started carrying some of the bears too. And there's a lovely description where the beings that were flying, they were following Jnana Yoga. Yoga means path. So they were following the path of knowledge. The beings that were walking on the rocks, they were following Karma Yoga. And the beings that were walking on the other animals, they were following Bhakti Yoga because they needed to have the faith that all of these sea creatures will still be still and focused. So there's so much depth about even this crossing. And my last thought about the kata. What does Rameshwara mean again? What does it literally mean? Rameshwara, if you open this up, means the Ishvara of Rama, the God of Rama. Who is the God of Rama? Bhagwan Shiva. But there's another meaning. It is the Rama as Ishvara. Not the Ishvara of Rama, but Rama as Ishvara. Then Rameshwara begins to describe Bhagwan Rama, isn't it? So the typical way is Bhagwan Shiva, the Ishvara of Rama. The atypical way is Rama is Ishvara. But the most lovely translation is Rama and Ishvara. So Bhagwan Rama and Bhagwan Shiva. One of the greatest civil wars that has taken place in Bharat has been between the Vaishnavites and the Shaivites. Those people who think Mahadeva is Bhagwan Shiva. Har Har Mahadev. And then there's another group who believe that Bhagwan Vishnu is the greatest. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Tulsidashi tried to bring them together by showing the deepest meaning. Rameshwaram is Rama and Ishvara, but still this bickering happens, doesn't it? People just don't study. They make up whatever they want. All of the younger people, some of your times your parents say things that have no backing whatsoever, correct? They just say whatever they want. Some science says this. Some report says this. We're like that too when it comes to religion. When we study this in depth, how can there be a fight between someone who loves Bhagwan Shiva, someone who loves Bhagwan Vishnu? I spoke at a mandir once where they told me I'm not allowed to chant any prayers on Bhagwan Shiva. And I went and I spoke there, but I won't go back with such conditions. Because I'm only endorsing that which is anti-Shastra. We have to be careful about such places. Bhagavan Shiva is an icon of Shraddha. He is also an icon of Guru. And Lord Rama is the icon of Jnana, the icon of Brahman. Where does Shraddha take you? To Jnana. Where does the Guru take you? To Brahman. They are one and the same. They are not separate. I wanted to study one more Chopai, but we'll do that next week. Oh.